Hey everybody, welcome back to Sam's Doing Stuff. What am I doing today? Well, we're going to find out definitively, other than a kiln, what is the absolute best way to dry your firewood. This basket of firewood has been sitting right here in this field since December of 2024. Currently, it is May of 2025, almost June. So we're looking at about 6 months. Now, why am I going to test this right now? Because I want to get it kind of halfway through. If I waited too long, my comparison might be skewed because they might both be completely dry. I want to see right now, and the percentages will tell us, whether drying my wood out here in the field is the best way to do it, or is it better to dry wood inside of a building such as this barn? You can see I've got all of this firewood waiting in this barn. It's been out of the elements, no rain, no snow, nothing to make it less dry, let's say. But it also hasn't seen the wind very much or the sun at all. So, as you can see, I have another basket. This is identical black locust. That basket in the field is black locust, and so is this. It is cut from the very same log, from the very same tree, and it was split on the very same day. One of them went out in the field, the other one stayed inside. So we're going to split these open, and we're going to test each one and see if there's any difference at all. All right, I'm going to take one of the thicker pieces right off the top here, and we're going to make sure we don't get these mixed up. I'm going to mark the inside ones with an I. Okay, that's one. I also want to take one, if I can, from down here in the center. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect. I might even be able to put that right back. And we'll mark this one also with an I, so we know those were from the inside. Okay, now from the outside basket, let's take a decent sized one here. We're going to mark the top of it with an O. There's one. And once again, we're going to try and get one out of the center here if we can. All right, good. And mark that one with an O. Outside. All right, we got two inside pieces and two outside pieces. Now, of course, I'm going to split these open and get an accurate reading. But before I do, we might as well get a surface reading. All right, we're going to take this outside piece that I took off the top, okay? And let's just see what it is on the surface. So right now, you can read that. Looks like we're looking around 15 to 16%, give or take. That's the surface. Let's test the other outside one. Oh, look at that. About 12, maybe even less. Now that was the one I pulled out of the center of the pile, so it didn't get rained on. That's pretty interesting. It's down to 10, almost 11. Huh. All right, here we go with the inside pieces. These have been inside since I split them. Haven't seen a single drop of snow or rain. Oh boy, 16.7. All right, 16.5. And this is the one I took off the top. I don't suspect there'd be any difference. Wow, 8.0. Let's try a different place. Oh, definitely different. Okay, I must just not have had a good reading. 15.5. Interesting. Okay, now of course, the real telling part will be what are they like on the inside. So let's get these split open. Perfect. All right, here we go. This is an outside piece. This is half of the outside piece. Testing the inside. 27.2. 26 point, around 27. There's another chunk of outside. 25, 26. Very close. Piece of inside. 22.6. Another chunk of the inside piece. 24.2. I think that's pretty interesting. So what did I determine from this? Well, the stuff from the outside is a couple of percentages higher. It is not as dry as the pieces I took from the inside. So we had a wet spring, pretty wet winter. You know, snow sits on top of these, and I think it's got to affect it some. Now, 6 months from now, when this is ready to sell, well, towards the fall, which one's gonna, will the outside, because it's gonna be summertime now, it's gonna be sun and heat, is that gonna accelerate the process for the outside stuff? I know one thing, there's a guarantee with the firewood you keep under a roof. There's an absolute guarantee. It's never gonna get wet, and it's only gonna continue to get dry. But it'll be interesting in the fall to see if these pieces, you know, reach their peak so that they're under, well, I mean, these are really close to be, anything under 20%, anything under 19% really, that's what you're supposed to shoot for, is ready to burn. So these are close. And I think both sets of firewood, whether inside or outside, are going to achieve the level of dryness they need to be able to sell and burn in the fall. But it was interesting. It's definitely, I mean, it's consistent too. One piece didn't do better than the other, you know. The inside stuff was consistently a higher percent or lower percentage than the outside stuff. You know, and this is Northeast Ohio. Now, I'm keeping it out in the field. There are no trees around. It didn't get any shade ever. Nothing. And there's plenty of wind out here in farm country. It is definitely getting wind, sun, and they both had the same amount of time. So I don't know, that's pretty definitive to me. That surprised me, actually. I thought the stuff in the field would be a lot drier than the stuff I kept inside. Now, I chose black locust for a reason. I didn't want to choose you know, like a maple or something that was gonna dry really fast. I thought maybe it would just dry so fast that both would be the same and it wouldn't be an accurate scientific method there. I didn't choose anything like oak because oak absorbs moisture. So if you're drying oak, it's a really good idea to keep it under a roof. I've already determined that. As a matter of fact, let's go check the oak that we've got inside and see where it is. All right, these are my two oldest baskets of red oak. This one, I tag all these so I know. This was November of last year, November of 24. So it really doesn't matter top or bottom. I just want to make sure I get one that's thick enough to get a good, well, let's test the outside first. Wow, 13. That's actually surprising. All right, let's split it open. I'm sure it's going to be a lot higher. There we go. All right, split right down the middle. Let's check it out. Wow, 21.7. That is almost ready to burn. November of 24. This is May 19th, 25. That means 6 months. In 6 months, red oak is at 21, 22%. Boom. Inside for oak. Definitely keep your oak inside. You know, there's something else you really have to factor in, and that is the quality of the product. Look at this stuff. Being inside, if it doesn't see the sun, it doesn't get bleached out. And that's something. It makes the wood look better, okay? A lot of customers don't care, but some customers would. If they saw this wood sitting next to gray wood, they might think this is better. Yeah. And now the real elephant in the room, of course, is space. It's literally the room, not the elephant, or the size of the elephant. Yeah, do you have enough space to store all of your firewood indoors. Not even me. I mean, with these big barns, I'm not putting, no, it's going out in the field. The red oak will stay under a roof, absolutely 100%. But the rest of it's going out. Now there's alternatives. If you're keeping firewood in these baskets, you can use the IBC bladders and cover them. You know, that'll keep the sun off of them and it'll keep a lot of rain and snow from sitting on top of them. That's definitely something I would consider. I was really surprised. I really thought that stuff out in the field was going to be drier than the stuff inside, not the other way around. So, and the red oak, I wasn't totally surprised, but I'm very impressed by how far it's come in just 6 months. So, all right, that's enough science. Let's do some work. So, what did we learn today? I know I don't have to tell you to comment. If you want to comment anyway, there's going to be so many comments. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not biased. I'm not biased at all. I'm just surprised, really. I definitely see an advantage and a reason. Scientifically, I think that's pretty good experiment. 6 months, you know. Yeah, it's definitely keep your red oak inside. I cannot believe that. Wow. Yeah. Somebody's going to be in the comments going, yeah, but there's no beating the sun, the wind. You know, yeah, that's true. There's definitely no beating that. I think the number one factor out of anything is time. I definitely think time is what dries wood the most. Keeping it out of the rain. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Now, you know, I watch Chris in the wood yard. I know he throws his wood in a pile, sits outside. Same thing as I have here. He's got a farm, so wind, lots of wind. The fan is always on, as they say. Anyway, yeah, I stack my wood, and when it's piled, it has more room. But if the pile gets big enough, then the stuff down in the, I don't know. I think really, well, it really showed too. The piece outside that I took off the top was not as dry as the piece that I took out of the middle. It was only a couple percentage points, but it's something. So the one piece that's sheltered and didn't get all the snow sitting on it all winter, and we had quite a bit of snow this year, you know, makes a difference. It makes a difference. Cover your wood. I have to bring up the point about space once again, because even if I use this entire barn and filled it with baskets, and if I could stack them too high, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. But if, let's just say I had a Easton made Evo and I was just knocking them out, you know? Still run out of space. Still gonna run out of space at some point. I think putting, you know, lids on them when you're storing them, or if you store in bulk and you just pile it and have some kind of a, you know, carport or something like that. I watch Outdoors in the 608 with Jeremiah, and you should check his channel out. He's got a nice little channel. He's got quite a little wood yard. Does a nice job for a one-man operation. And he uses carports, especially for oak. You know, it makes sense. Jeremiah, you're onto something there with the carports. Anyway, I think we've talked enough about this. Unless you want to bring it up in the comments, you can debate it with each other all you want down there. I know what's best for me. And especially in the wintertime, I'll be keeping as much of it as I can inside the barns. And then in the summertime, we'll let the sun do its job out in the fields. You know, the bleaching, really only the stuff on top gets bleached. I mean, this is the stuff I split over here. You see how the color of that is? You know, all right, there you go. There's the top of it. That's the underside. And if you take any of these pieces like this one, the underside is yellow, the top is gray. So really, yeah, the pieces on top are really the only ones that are affected. And there's one more thing you gotta consider. If you're like me, you stack your firewood in IBC totes. And I don't have an infinite amount of IBC totes. I've got 18 of these left. Yeah, that's all I have for this season, okay? Once I fill these up, if I have more firewood than I have IBC totes, I'm gonna have to store it somewhere, and I'm not gonna put a big pile of firewood in the corner of a barn just to keep it under, you know. I will pile it in the wood yard, and then as the IBC totes come back empty, I will fill them up again. And of course, I'll take some of my profits and I'll reinvest it into getting more totes. But the point is, just because you might get some advantage of being able to keep wood inside doesn't mean you could do it with all of it. I'm about to get started splitting up some more red oak, and there's one more thing I just thought of. Winter. Deliveries in the wintertime. So when I used to stack my wood out in the fields and winter would come around and I've got it out there and it's ready to burn, somebody's gonna call or text or message and say, hey, got any firewood? I'd be like, yeah, but it's covered in snow and ice and I can't get my truck out there. A good idea would be to keep a certain supply of ready to go firewood in the barn. So all I have to do is load it up and take it, and it's not gonna be nasty, you know? So I think that's a good idea. That's a really good reason to keep firewood inside. Anyway, more work. Morning. Yeah, next day. I want to give you guys some updates. Told you my cousin was coming over. We're going to do the plumbing in here Saturday. Yeah, so that's all done. Copper pipe, hot and cold for the sink over here. Got the drain in. Hot and cold for the bathroom sink in here. And then, of course, just cold water down there for the toilet. You know, basic plumbing. It was really cool. It was a long day. I learned how to solder pipe, you know, a little bit my first time. I did all the caps, so they're not leaking. I must have done something right. Anyway, he taught me how to do that. And then, it all comes over here and we put in a $400 ejection pump or grinder pump or sewage pump, whatever you want to call it. $400 for that thing. Whew. Anyway, there's a great sense of calm right now because this is done. And the next phase, I move over here and I'm going to start boxing in the furnace. 2 more walls after that. I have a special project over here. I don't know why this little alcove is here, this little nook, but it's a perfect place for keeping my wooden metal collection, you know. Now, I want to turn this whole thing into a safe, not just the safe. I want to put the the whole thing, you know. So that's going to be a pretty cool little section of it. But anyway, just those two walls and that, and all the framing will be done. Oh, let's go back outside. Just keeping with the updates, there's this area that I seeded a while back. It looks better like that than it does like this. Yeah, it's still a little bit thin, but it's coming along. It's grass, it'll grow. Yeah, so at least I can mow it now. You know, I just mowed it for the first time, and I have a pretty strict rule of thumb when it comes to putting in new grass. I don't mow it until I see seed. When the grass goes to seed, then I know it's established, and also you get a free overseeding when you mow it. Y'all may have noticed that I'm wearing long sleeves and flannels and hoodies and stuff. Well, yeah, it's cold. It's supposed to be the coldest Memorial Day we've had in like 12 years. So it's perfect firewood weather though. So I'm gonna make firewood. I got all of my have-tos done. All of my have-tos are done. I've got the entire day to make firewood. So you know how much I have right now. Let's see how much I have at the end of the day. It's not gonna be as much as you think, but we'll see. Today was a good day. Yeah. So I topped off a basket of red oak, filled another basket of red oak, topped off a basket of honey locust or black locust. Who cares what color it is? Anyway, got another basket of hickory started and a basket of cherry. And because I found hickory, I was able to top this basket off. This was a partial basket of hickory for a long time. And I need to get better at identifying species. This beautiful hickory almost ended up in a mixed basket. I didn't know what it was, but once I started splitting it, you can smell it. And I'll tell you what, you know hickory when you smell it. And of course, the most important firewood of all, I've almost filled another basket for my parents. That wipes out all of the rounds that I already had cut up from the last time I was out here at the bucking station. So next, this whole bucking station full of cherry needs to be, well, bucked up first and then split. And all the ideas are great. I really like the idea, if I could set up a conveyor going in the back of that barn and just transfer rounds directly in, oh, that'd be something. But for now, I think there is a better idea than taking them one pallet at a time. I have this Harbor Freight trailer sitting here that is underutilized for sure. And I built this thing up to kind of do hay rides for the kids at Halloween. So the sides come off very easily, and I'm thinking I could stack up some pallets on top of it to get it just to the right height, and that would mean I could take the entire load of the trailer in and split it all at once. Now, the drawback is gonna be the weight limit of this trailer. It's only 1,000 pounds, so I could definitely overload it very quickly. But I think it'll be good because, you know, when you're doing production, you wanna stay with what you're doing for as long as you can. So if I'm cutting logs into rounds, I wanna do as much of that as possible before I go on to something else. And what I've been doing is cutting one log, stacking on a pallet, moving it in, you know, so this will allow me to cut more at a time. So I think it's a great idea. That's gonna be coming up in a future video. Now I get to talk to my subscribers. This is what I do. I save my talking like this at the end now, if you're not a subscriber, well, you can stick around, sure. You could even hit that subscribe button and become a subscriber. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? Anyway, I wanna let you guys know. So, you know, there's product endorsements, okay? And I still wanna do them. I haven't done any in a while. I did that chain locker, but I wanted to do that. That's a really good product. Anyway, I got a couple of products I wanna do. And I don't wanna take away from my Wednesdays and Saturdays. I don't wanna take away from those normal videos. So, excuse me a minute. Sorry about that. A little piece of dust in the back of my throat. Anyway, so what I've decided to do is I'm just gonna do extra videos. So I'll do my normal Wednesday and Saturday videos, and those will be your long form, you know, what's Sam doing type things. And then I'll do a product review and I'll just post it. I don't know when it'll happen. I'll just post it on any day. So if you see a Sam's Doing Stuff video and it's not on a Wednesday or Saturday, you know, go ahead and watch it. That's all, you know, I don't really care. But, you know, I want you to watch my videos, of course. So, you know, watch it, see what I say about the product. But product reviews are going to be separate. that's for sure. And I definitely don't want to take away from the Wednesday and Saturday thing. So that's what I've decided. Tell me if you think that's a good idea or not. I think it is, you know. Anyway, today was a really good day. It was a really good day. And I hope you learned something. I learned that is definitely a benefit to covering your firewood. Inside a building is ideal, of course, but you know, at least keeping the snow and rain off of it. And the one thing that I thought of during the winter, that's gonna be an absolute. I will keep a supply of firewood baskets ready to deliver in the middle of winter time, so I'm not messing with muddy fields and snow and ice and no, it'll be right there in the building. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Anyway, that's what we're all about, really good ideas. So I appreciate you stopping by, and I will see you next time when I'm doing more stuff.